Hello and welcome to Girls with Goals. I'm Niamh Maher. A little bit later on, we're going to be joined by the founders of Body&Soul because summer is finally coming, thank God. But first, I'm delighted to welcome my guest this week to studio. YouTuber and Instagram star Keelin Moncrieff is here, as well as podcaster Molly Parsons. Ladies, you're very welcome to the show. I swear to God, lads, I was meant to ask you before, what do you want me to introduce you as? And then I just kind of forgot about it and I just went for it. So were those descriptions okay?
Good. No, that's good. I like to see what people interpret me as anyway.
Yeah,
so
it's nice.
It's different. I get a different reaction every time.
So
people are like, what are you? I'm like, I don't know.
I went to
existential crisis.
I went to a YouTuber and Instagram star. Is that all right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I am a star. I'm a shining star in the darkness, like.
Podcaster, Molly.
Yeah, I like that because
you're a star too, though.
Star. Pretty little star.
Yeah, like I was when you didn't call me star, it was a bit like
she's gone. Yeah. She's cancelled.
So in our 6 words or less game, Molly's first word, star. Let's play the game, okay? So every week we ask our guests to play 6 words or less, and it's just in case any of our readers or listeners or viewers of the show don't know who you are. So you have to describe yourself in 6 words or less, and maybe we'll go to Keelin first.
Keelin,
oh my God, you're so relieved.
Go on.
Okay, enthusiastic, happy, caring, talkative. How many words is that?
It's 4.
Math, not good at maths. Obviously not, because that's a few words. Anyway.
That was like 8 words.
Friendly and ambitious.
Amazing. Oh, they're lovely words. All 10 of them. Molly, 6 words or less?
okay, I'd go for star quality mainly, and then I would say determined, curious, welcoming, awkward, but like I'm not awkward, like I won't look you in the eye. I'm just like, I say things and then I retract them like all the time, don't I?
Yes,
yeah,
all the time.
And then lovely.
Yeah, you are lovely. We should have done it for each other.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
That was great. You literally looked so panicked there.
That's what I mean by
You're like dictionary quick.
Like, I've never seen someone struggle with the word lovely so much in my life. You were silent.
That's because I was like, oh, I won't rehearse them because it's going to be all natural. And then I was just like,
it's just like, oh.
It's like a broadcaster's worst fear as well, just dead air. For 3 seconds, I was like, is she going to talk again? Lads, obviously you guys kind of seem to have a great rapport, so presumably you know each other. So are you friends? How do you guys know each other?
Take it away.
Keelin is my boyfriend's cousin.
Oh, stop. So you're related?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we are. We're in-laws.
Yeah, we're kind of in-laws in a weird way. So, yeah, I actually had never heard of you before. I'm so sorry. I'd never heard of Keelin before I went out with Her.ie.
Before I got sick.
And then he was like, oh, I don't know when I first met you, but he was like, oh, she has a YouTube. Because I'm like obsessed with watching YouTube videos. And then I checked you out and you're like such a breath of fresh air. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to like really suck up to this girl and make her my friend.
Make her my friend.
You had like a pre-plan in place to make Keelin your friend.
Yeah, I'm
that is determination.
determined. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love if you just see somebody on the periphery and you're like, do you know what? They're going to be my best friend. And then you just made it happen. So you mentioned YouTube there. So Keelin, obviously you do have a YouTube channel, but it kind of started, I suppose, on Snapchat for you, right? Isn't that how it happened?
Yeah, sort of.
So tell us about that.
It was just kind of talking about whatever I wanted. It was so instant and easy to do. But I found that a lot of a younger demographic is on Snapchat, and it's I would be talking about not inappropriate things, but I wanted to reach a different audience. So I think if you're editing stuff and you're looking over more for, say, a YouTube channel, you'd be more careful with your words, and also I'd be able to, you know, improve on each time I do it.
Yeah.
And then I'd want to cover like different sort of topics and to have it, because you have it online permanently then. So you'd just be more careful and I'd say better spoken.
The thing with Snapchat that I always found interesting, because like I deleted mine, which I think a lot of people have done now, to see it's not necessarily as big as it used to be. But the thing with Snapchat is that if you're developing an audience on Snapchat, because for me anyway, it was literally just my group of friends who would kind of open my stories. And then did you just find that when you were talking about things like those opens just started to grow and grow and grow and without even really realizing it? Because I think with Instagram, there's such a kind of algorithm in place now, like people kind of are following the plan of how to get followers and stuff. I felt like it almost was more organic with Snapchat because nobody knew how it was garnering attention, you know?
And then just coming up to the end before I deleted it, it was like people had to add me as a friend to watch my story because I was never on private. But then when I hit a certain number, it was like you had to just subscribe to me. So then I was actually a different account then to Snapchat. So then I just deleted it.
And were you nervous about deleting it? Because that's where the kind of big part of your audience was at the beginning, or were you just like, no, do you know what, let's go, I want to do YouTube?
No, because I didn't care. It was never like a career plan for me. I never actually planned out for it to happen, so I had no attachment to it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. And Molly, what about you? So I know your podcast, it's called Molly's Minutes. Great name, I love alliteration.
Sometimes I'm like so embarrassed when I'm emailing like possible guests.
It's Molly from
and I'm
Molly's
like,
Minutes.
yeah, I'm like, oh, it sounds so cringy, but yeah, that alliteration.
Ah, yeah, you have to have it. You've described yourself as, to me, not on camera before, but you described yourself in an event that we were both at as a people collector.
Yeah, which
oh my God, I've used that term before.
Yeah, but
it's so
then
good.
Another
Didn't
girl
know it was a term.
Yeah, another girl on the panel was like, that actually sounds like you're a murderer. So I was like,
oh my God, no, it doesn't. I have a friend who's like that as well, and I'm like honoured that she collected me. I'm like, I'm worthy. You know?
I love the idea of a people collector, but also the fact that you make them come to your home. So like it's like real full-scale people collector. I come into my living room slight thing. But when did you have the idea that you kind of wanted to do this kind of thing? I mean, let's be honest as well. Like a lot of people have podcasts these days. It's a very competitive industry. So did you wake up one day and say, this is what I want to do?
No, well, not really. So basically, it actually came from like kind of a dark place, but so when I was in school, I had a really bad eating disorder, and I wasn't in school basically. But I'm really aware of getting an education. Like even though I dropped out of college, I'm always like trying to read as much as I can. Like I feel really bad if someone brings something up and I don't know what they're talking about. Okay. So I was like, I don't know why even, I would just go onto Channel 4 and I'd try to watch 4 documentaries a day, or just on YouTube or different places, and I just got obsessed with documentaries, and I was like, okay, I want to be Louis Theroux. Like, I just want to be him. I was like, I'm awkward. I feel like I could be the female version or whatever. People are probably watching this like, what? But anyway. So then I thought, I was looking at courses then when I did my Leaving Cert, and thought like film and broadcasting, that might be something that could get me into it. But when I was there, I just kind of slipped back to the way I was in school, and it's not healthy for me personally to be in that atmosphere. I don't know why. So I dropped out, and I knew that I had to go out and do something by myself. And obviously podcasts were coming up, but it wasn't that I even wanted to do a podcast and for it to get loads of attention and then to get loads of brand deals and things like that. I just wanted, instead of sending my CV and saying I did film and broadcasting and I have a degree, I wanted to say, oh, I've run this podcast and gotten some amazing guests, spoken about these topics that maybe haven't been spoken about, and like, say, invited onto a few panels, and applied for jobs that way. So that's kind of why I started it. And a lot of people now are saying, oh my God, podcasts are such a trend. Is that why you decided to do it? And it's not like I had a following before I started a podcast. Like, I'm not even at like 10,000 followers now. Yeah. But it's going well for me, so I'm thankful for that.
What do you think about podcasting, Keelin? Are you a fan? Are you do you not like them? Or tell me what you think about podcasts in general, because I think it's fair to say that it is
absolutely.
a trend.
Absolutely.
And I think, like, you know, it's kind of like what the blog was 10 years ago, you know? So, like, I remember when I was in college, everybody had a blog, and that was like the main thing that you had to do. Like, you can't graduate and go out into the world of journalism without having a blog. And I was like, oh, I hated blogging. Like, I just didn't want to do it. I would prefer to go and just work and do it my way, as opposed to having like this come find me at kind of thing. But that was all the rage, and it was just kind of the way that people were utilizing it. And now it definitely seems that broadcasting is kind of the thing to do. I'm obviously a fan of them, but like, what do you think about it as a industry, I suppose.
I'm an avid podcast listener, so I really enjoy them. But I have been asked by people to make one because I suppose it's easier to, because it's like a multitasking media, because you can do something else while listening.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I just find that my voice is really harsh, and I love editing. So I feel like a podcast is just a lot less editing, and I'm a talker with my hands, obviously, and I just enjoy visuals more. So that's why that's the media that I use for now.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy listening to podcasts, like obviously Blind Boy's huge, but I find his voice very therapeutic whenever I'm listening to it. And I'd be really hard, like I speak from my throat because I'm a trained singer, but I'd be very loud and like, and I like getting dressed up for someone to watch me. That's probably so vain, but it's like, I like doing my makeup and dressing up nice, and people, like, it's such a buzz when people are like, where'd you get your top, you know? But from a podcast, you can't. Like, I could literally be in my PJs at home, which just doesn't excite me.
This is why we do a show, so it's audio and visual.
And then, like, obviously my dad's a radio presenter, so the two of us just, like, kind of in competition with each other. It's like, I spoke to this person this week, and it's like, well, I spoke to this person. It's like, well, I can do whatever I want because it's not broadcast, it's on air, like, so.
Is it really competitive, is it?
No, it's actually not. Yeah. He's like, you're the type of person that people talk about in my workplace, and I have no idea who they're talking about. And I was like, okay, I'm taking that as a compliment.
Oh yeah, that is a compliment, I would say, yeah. You said that you were a singer as well. So like in terms of, obviously you had kind of the Snapchat thing and then you put that down and now you're a YouTuber and very big on Instagram as well. What was the kind of career path that you were going to do after school? Did you have any kind of career aspirations, or what was that whole plan? Did you have a plan even?
I have a video coming out soon about how I don't agree with the second level education system, because I wasn't given a direct route and I don't think I was given enough guidance, because I've been in 3 different colleges and I've seen all the people that are close to me just aren't suited to the system.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in kind of our line of work, like media, it's creatives.
Yeah.
It's apparent that the system is not working. So I've been in literally 3 different colleges. I'm now doing my major award. A girl in my year hasn't even done her leaving cert, and we're all going to get a career out of it.
Right.
So you actually don't need your leaving cert from it. But so I never had a direct career path at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always said that I thought it was really difficult to have to kind of choose what you want to do as a career when you're 17, as in like just the CSO form, how you have to like write it down and then hope that your career kind of comes to fruition by that. Like I chose journalism because I didn't ever want to do anything else, but for a lot of people, like, you know, there was the arts degree that you could go to maybe, and that would be, but a lot of people kind of judge getting an arts degree, whereby in America, that's what everybody does. You go to college first and then you pick a major, you know? Like, how are you supposed to decide what you want to do when you're 16, 17 years of age? So it's a valid point, like. But I mean, now that you're out in the world and you're working in the creative industry, it's nice to hear that you want to use that platform to maybe tell younger girls that it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, and boys, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the plan.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, amazing.
I want to be a voice for people that can't speak up.
Yeah.
Because I've seen like people really close to me that have struggles, and there's no one really talking on behalf of them. It's more everyone online is just talking about where to buy your outfits, and it's not really anything helpful for society at all. Yeah. And that's where I just saw a gap that I wanted to fill.
So I watched one of your videos, and I want to get your insights into this as well, Molly, because it's kind of the industry that you're both in and the industry that I'm in as well. And it's basically, I think it was titled, now correct me if I'm wrong, but like how to be an influencer in Ireland.
Yeah.
And basically you kind of go into, I suppose it's your own opinion of what influencers are and kind of how they get into it. And what I was struck by, because I'm out of school for so long now, that I kind of forget that, well, I don't know that people are really looking at influencers as a career path, and that's something that they kind of want to be when they grow up or whatever it is.
I think there was a poll done in schools, a girls' school. Did you see that? Or I think it was a primary school, and like all of them said, nearly all of them said influencers.
Yeah.
Well, Central St. Martin's has a course on how to be a blogger now.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay. So I found it really interesting because you were saying that it is not a vocation. That's kind of what your line was. So tell us like why you think that, or where that kind of came from.
It's because it's just promoting materialistic values, and I don't think that's what young people should aspire to be, because if Instagram followers are the new currency, they're basically capitalizing on our insecurities.
Yeah.
So they're saying you should aspire to have this lifestyle. So if you don't have that lifestyle, you're put down for it. And then if you do have it, if you get this, and it doesn't even exist, that's the thing. So they're after this chase of this lifestyle, and so they can promote these brands that are, again, capitalizing on us. Because peer-to-peer consumerism works better than, you know, advertising. They found that out. So we're getting used. Like, you would just be getting used by companies. Like it's not going to make you happy. And to be fulfilled in life, you need to spend time with people that you love and to make a difference in the world. And selling people products is not making a difference.
But like, I don't see it changing anytime soon. Do you know, like the industry is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more influencers are coming through, and now they're calling them micro influencers because they might have like a slightly smaller, but they still have like great engagement rates and stuff like this. Do you feel like you're being used by these people online, these influencers?
I don't think people are purposely aware of see, it's hard because it's like when people say they don't want to be called influencers, but that is the category that they're in, and they're voiding the influence that they have on other people. They say, oh, I don't want to imagine that I have an influence on people buying things. And it's like, well, if that's your job, own it. And I think that's amazing that people can do that now.
Yeah.
But I also think that, as Keelin said, we have seen a significant increase in the mental health of particularly young girls, thinking that this Instagram grid is real life, that these people don't have any struggles, that they're going to all these really amazing events, and that's amazing. Like, some people, that's their peak of success for them, that's their aspirations, but it's also really unhealthy for the mindset of the generation that grew up with it.
Yeah.
We're being like on a space that we choose to follow people, but it's like we're being kind of given masses and masses of advertising through people we see as Keelin said, our peers.
Yeah.
So we don't see it as advertising. So it's I don't know, like I see it as it can be quite. And I know myself, like I used to, when I had an eating disorder, all I would do all day is look at these girls in their perfect clothes and their perfect bodies, having their perfect life, and I just want to be them. And that is the effect, unfortunately, that it can have. And I think when people don't acknowledge the influence that they do have, it's even unhealthier, would you say?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that people can do this for a career, but I also think that there needs to be a responsibility taken.
Do you think it would be better, Keelin, if they weren't there? If this didn't come to be a category of a profession? It's a tough question.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I was trying to think, influencers. I just wish that there was a law that companies couldn't hire these people to advertise.
Yeah.
Or like they wouldn't accept it.
Because do you think then it would almost force them, like, I mean, let's be honest, we're talking about content here, aren't we? We're talking about like the content that you put out there. And the two of you are working on your own content that you put out there. I know, Molly, that like your podcast is sponsored now and stuff like that. But you're working on putting out material. So like I kind of have, like I kind of agree with both of you. I really respect the bloggers who like have blogs and the bloggers who like put work into their own websites and stuff like this.
Absolutely.
They definitely have brand collaborations that they do as well, but they're very selective of the stuff that they do. Like,
And they're actually giving out help.
yeah, and
like
they're
styling help.
Exactly. So like I think you kind of hit on something really interesting. You said that there's like three kind of different types of influencers, if you will. There's the ones that give you information, there's entertainment, and then there's just the walking advertisements.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, that I don't know whether it's more of a reflection on our society, the walking advertisement ones are the ones who are the most famous, aren't they? And it's actually the ones who are really working on their own stuff that maybe don't get approached that much. So is there like a little bit of laziness, do you think, between both brands and the actual influencers as well? Because like one day they're advertising this and then the next day they're advertising this, and you're like, you're not using both of these things. Where's the integrity like? What do you think about that?
I think that's why I make content, is just to make people aware of what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's like when I talk about environmental planning, a lot of education is just blaming factories and the big corporations, when it's actually, it could be down to each individual. So the same thing with following influencers. If you just unfollow these people, you won't see the walking advertisements.
Yeah.
And they won't be getting like those brand collaborations again.
I personally feel, I agree I agree. I don't disagree, if you get me.
Yeah.
But I also think that what influencers could do and is approach brands and say, listen, loads of my followers are asking which factory you produce in. Like, it could be if they could be helping, say, sustainable fashion or whatever, to ask the brands they are working with the questions that are coming against them instead of just coming against the people who are speaking out about it. Do you get me?
No, I get that. Like, I mean, there's definitely a responsibility that's kind of needed, but like, what do you think about kids in general wanting to live this lifestyle? Because it's like, it's the new celebrity, isn't it? Like, it's the new version of what fame is. And here's the kicker, you don't actually need a huge amount of talent in order to do it. Some would say you need to look a certain way or you need to position yourself a certain way, but like, it's not like back in the day when you had to go and like audition for pop stars, you know what I mean? Like to become famous. But like, Keelan, what do you think about the fact that maybe a lot of these kids who are like, I want to be an influencer, it's actually they kind of want to be famous, don't they?
Yeah, it's the drive for fame. Because they think that if they get these things, so if they get the 1, 2, 3 items, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because you never see an influencer like put up a picture of their mum and be like, look what I got today in the shop. You know what I mean? When actually, in fact, that's making them happy. That's what brings them happiness. So people experiences. And then it's this and now online it's just, well, you need things to make you happy, which isn't true, because obviously all these influencers struggling, they come out about it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, where's the line?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And they do actually, like when they come out and kind of talk about it as well, there's a part of me that almost thinks that they should kind of, this is going to sound really bad, I don't know whether I should say this, but like almost stay in their lane a little bit. Like if they are walking advertisements, shouldn't they be walking advertisements and kind of just be that? Like, I find it affronting when I'm getting not only like buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, but also in the middle of all this, buy this, buy this, buy this, like I've had a shitty day. I'm kind of like a confused consumer in that kind of way. What do you think about that?
That's why the whole thing is confusing. Like, I do really appreciate when people come out with their struggles personally.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's just, it's sometimes I actually just have to put my phone down, because it messes with your mind. You don't know who to, and see, I don't want to say I don't appreciate when people do that, because I'm a huge advocate for speaking out.
Yeah.
But I also just feel like that's why it's such like a constant contradiction. And that's why, like, you see a lot of influencers saying, you know, if someone puts up something that says #ad and you really enjoy their content, make sure to like it and stuff like that. And then you're like, I don't know. Yeah, it's all very, very confusing.
It is. It's like it's a huge amount of information to kind of take in as well. And I have to say, like, I've had a lot of influencers on the show, and they do work hard.
Oh, they work so hard. And what I would say is that, like, you actually probably do need a talent. Like, even though obviously my podcast is my main thing, like obviously Instagram is a huge part of selling my podcast or making people watch my, not making people watch my podcast, but, you know, promoting it. And I do try to like make my Instagram like look nice and stuff like that, but I just don't think it's like necessarily like what Irish people like to look at. So I do find that really hard. So like sometimes when people are like, it's easy to get followers, I'm like, well, I don't find it easy, so I don't know how to do it.
Well, it's definitely a business as well. Like, I mean, Keelan, you have like, what is it, 14,000 followers on Instagram, over that?
Yeah.
So do you get like, no big deal. I'm coming up close behind you now. No, not at all. Do you get approached a lot by brands to do collaborations, or is that something, or is it because maybe you create these videos that you don't get approached that much, or?
No, see, the thing is they don't actually do their research on whoever they're asking to collaborate with. So I get like 2 emails a day about getting sent free stuff.
Stop! So they don't even know who you are?
No, absolutely not.
Sometimes they say hello influencer at the top of the...
Yeah, or they say hello Keelan.
Do you ever respond, or do you just go, meh?
No, I just ignore it.
Really?
Like the poor PR woman, whoever is emailing me, it's not her fault. Like she's just not aware of. She's giving out these plastic things for free. Like,
but I mean, I thought what was interesting about that video as well is that you said that, like, you know, it's important when people are bringing something substantial to the online community, because that's like, I think, what a lot of people are trying to do now. But if you were to like pick out a few bloggers or influencers even that you think are making like a real mark, like who are they? Who are the people that you follow that you think are kind of, you know, they're ticking that box in terms of what they're doing with their content?
So Molly, obviously.
Yes,
I was like, if you don't say me,
No,
it's
obviously, because Molly
I'm
brings
joking.
like a different type of person from
Yeah.
all different walks of life. So it's all informational and it's obviously aesthetic because Molly has great style. Because people like to look at something nice
Yeah,
as well.
absolutely.
And then also your laugh is so adorable.
I know, yeah, I could-
So
God, it's
it's
gonna be
nice to
horrible.
listen to. And then also I follow another girl who's in my school and she has a podcast as well, but like she's so small. I think it's called A Little Gale Asks, and she just
Oh my God, I love her.
she just gives
she's
tips.
amazing.
Great
But see,
name.
I text her and I'm like, I know someone who's suffering from anxiety. How can I approach that person? Because that's something that's not brought. It's because the influencer world is very, you know, what's
You
that
could
word?
say it.
Just
is
obsessed,
all we're-
self-obsessed.
yeah.
Sorry, there we go.
Narcissistic?
Narcissistic. There we go. And they talk about their struggles, which obviously I respect because it's hard to come out and speak about your, and it's destigmatizing it
Yeah.
and making it normalized to talk about your struggles. But the thing is, they're not giving you the solution.
Right.
So they're just talking about it. And when I put up a poll on my Insta story and I said, has a blogger ever helped you from coming out from their struggles?
Yeah.
And what people would reply, a lot of people just said, it made me realise that I was struggling too. Which
Right,
I don't know
okay.
is a positive or negative. And then also the other thing they were saying was it was making them feel less alone. But no one had said that they felt better after, like that it helped them deal with it. So a little girl asks what she does is she gives tips on how you can approach someone else who's suffering and then also how to help yourself.
Wow.
Which isn't online.
Yeah.
No one does. They just speak about their own issues to relate to their followers.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're going to relate to your followers like that, you have to back it up,
Yeah,
don't you? Like
yeah.
because that's the thing that that sometimes sits uncomfortably with me, that you're opening the door for a lot of people to come to you with problems, and then if you're not, like, for whatever reason, like I know that the DMs that come in, like they must get thousands on a daily basis. If they're not in a position to actually give any kind of real help, or if they're not in a position to send them to the place that they need real help, because people could get in touch with them and have serious problems, you know? And that's why I think that it's dangerous at times in terms of the responsibility that these influencers actually do have over their followers.
Sometimes it's like, it's screaming into the very void that creates these issues in the first place. So it's like a catch-22 of like an endless cycle, and I think that's why it does require a change. It's because like people's mental health is getting worse, people are getting more anxious, people are becoming more materialistic, and then that's being spoken about on Instagram. So it's just like, what?
I know, yeah. And then like I do think that like Instagram and social media and stuff in itself is such something that can spur on anxiety for so many people as well. So it is like a catch-22.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about fashion. I'm excited. But first off, we're going to take a quick break. So earlier in the week, I was joined by Avril Stanley and Jenny Wren, the women behind Body&Soul, the music and arts festival, which is this summer turning 10 years old, which I can't believe. So take a listen. So the last few days, it has been sunny. It's still been absolutely Baltic. But of course, because of the weather, everybody is talking about one thing, and that is summer. And then everybody is, of course, talking about festivals. So I can't actually believe that I'm saying this, but Body&Soul, the Music and Arts Festival, is 10 years old this year. And I'm joined now in studio by the two women behind the festival. Founding director Avril Stanley and music booker Jenny Wren are with me. So ladies, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming in. I can't believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
10 blissful years.
10 blissful years, absolutely. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, because obviously 10 years is a momentous occasion for any festival. But first I want to talk about the two of you and how Body&Soul kind of came about in the first place. So you guys are friends, obviously, and you were friends before you started Body&Soul, right?
We met in the schoolyard in Galway.
Yeah.
Jenny and I have been school friends since we were 9.
Wow, so way back.
We should have worn our confirmation outfits.
You should have at least brought pictures. Absolutely.
I don't fit into mine anymore. So we know one another since we were 9 years of age, and we became best friends. And Jenny was just always a little bit ahead of the curve. She was always a bit cooler than me and everybody else in the class, and loved music, had older sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
And because of that, she just was slightly ahead of the curve of the rest of us who were, into our Whams and our Nick Kershaws.
Oh.
Jenny was into her Nick Caves and her, I don't know, Kate Bushes.
Yeah, so there was definitely that kind of early instinct of music? That was a love for you, Jenny, from an early age?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm 10 years behind the next sibling in my family. So I was definitely exposed to lots of fantastic music. And luckily for me, my brothers and sisters had great taste. So yeah, I was listening to, I remember playing Pink Floyd, The Wall, when I didn't know how to work a record player, and scratching it. And Nicola and Alison killing each other because they thought one or the other had scratched it, but it was me, but I was too young to have. So yeah, I had access to great music from very early on. So that certainly was, which was why I was a little bit ahead of the curve in the schoolyard.
I always wanted to be like that. Like I always wanted to be really, really into music, but I never was. I think it's something that you're kind of just drawn to from a very early age. Like you can't learn it. Like I remember sometimes I would work for different radio stations and I would adapt to the music that station would play. So for a little while I was like, oh my God, I'm amazing at this type of music. And then I would just forget it and I would move on to the next. But it's definitely something that's in you.
You can't force it.
Yeah.
You know, you can't force it. I was also I studied music. I played piano and I studied music as a subject at school. So classical music, you know, I could oscillate from Bach to, you know, to Pink Floyd. So yeah, it's not something you can force. It's either inherent or, you know, a mild thing you're into.
Yeah. So tell me about your respective careers then. What were you guys doing separately before you came together for Body&Soul Avril?
I left Ireland when I was 20. I had got my honours degree from UCC in Cork, and took flight basically, and I left Ireland when I was 20 and I didn't come back until I was 32. So over that period of time I travelled a lot and I worked in various different countries, and I started to research and check out festivals around the world and different rites of passage and the ways in which different cultures celebrated their traditions, and that led me naturally to hosting, putting on our first party, which was in Yosemite National Park in America with a couple of Irish friends. We'd just been to Burning Man and felt incredibly inspired and just really wanted to be part of that movement. And so that just created an opportunity to put on our own event, which we did. And that started in California and San Francisco and slowly winded its way from there through to the UK, where we created Body&Soul and grew that within a festival called the Big Chill. And then we got invited by John Reynolds to come over to Ireland and bring Body&Soul to the Electric Picnic. And then from there, over time, our intention with the Electric Picnic was to always create a festival within their festival.
Yeah.
And then in time to take that out. So in 2010, that just naturally, organically led to taking Body&Soul out to Ballinlough as a standalone festival.
And it did always feel like a festival within a festival. Like, because I remember, was it 2004 that it was the first like Body&Soul in Electric Picnic? Yeah. And I remember there being the buzz about that. It was like Electric Picnic was, you know, there, and a lot of people were kind of, you know, like how music festivals were in Ireland back then. Like if we look back to even the Oxygens and stuff, it was a lot of tents, it was a lot of alcohol, and it was a lot of music. And that was basically it. And then I remember being so excited about this kind of new experience within the festival. It added a different dimension to it, and you could tell that there was kind of a buzz about that. So when you guys wanted to move it out onto its own thing, did you, obviously it sounds like it was quite organic, but did you both just kind of wake up and go, this is it, now is the time, 2010?
Avril probably did.
Yeah.
I'm trailing behind going, what are we booking now? All right.
There was definitely a moment, I think, you know, in 2010 we were at the height of the recession in Ireland, and it was a time where it felt quite depressing to be in Ireland at that point in time. A lot of people were losing their jobs and people were getting into a lot of financial stress and strain, and it felt like it was a really important time for Body&Soul to actually take flight at that moment. We've always wanted to pioneer quite a unique festival model that is a little bit different to the norm of what you find, and at that moment in time it felt like we needed to celebrate our culture, and we needed to celebrate what made us Irish and what made us that little bit different, what set us apart. So Body&Soul was born smack in the middle of the recession intentionally, so as to actually kind of grab a light and shine it bright and say, it's a summer solstice weekend, let's put on a festival. It's a really good time to come together and share our stories and our lore and our commonalities and a sense of like-mindedness and throw a really good party, because, you know, at the end of the day, life is for living. So that was the birthing moment, right in the middle of that really intense decline in Ireland.
You make it sound like, well, you make it sound kind of easy, but not easy in so much as obviously it's a lot of work, but I'm sure you've seen the documentary, the Fire Festival documentary, which was interesting this year because for the first time, a lot of people who go to festivals and who are amongst that community of people were just like, holy shit, it takes an awful lot to put on a festival. So like, I just wanted to ask, what was it like that first year when, like you said, it was the summer solstice, let's throw a great party, let's celebrate everything. Like in essence, that sounds absolutely beautiful. But I would say in actual, you know, step by step, day by day, was there any moments where it was just like, oh God, this isn't going to happen?
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. You know, the banks wouldn't give us any money. Sponsors looked at us as if we were totally crazy. Everybody thought we were mental. But at the end of the day, once you set a date and you put it out there into the world and you send out a press release to say we're doing this, you can't really pedal back. You know, you've already kind of put your staff on the ground in the future, and there's a date, and that date just gets closer and closer. So yes, it was terrifying, and we would have had, you know, tiny babies at the time. You know, I had a 9-month-old and I don't know. I
had two,
a 0 and a 2-year-old. So you know, it was a very challenging time. But at the end of the day, people came around us, and we'd built a lot of respect through what we'd done with the Electric Picnic. And we had a lot of amazing people that wanted to come and collaborate with us at that time. So in a way, as much and all it was daunting, it was also something that people responded to very positively. And we had artists come from Burning Man to come over and join us. We had various different artists, and when I say artists, I mean we build our own stages, we create our own art, we also book all of the bands. Everything is very much hand done within Body and Soul, so that it's got its own very unique personality, because, you know, just to kind of be clear as to what we stand for and what's important. So really, and the troops galvanized, and it was 28 degrees that particular weekend. It was like the gods just shone upon us and went, we're really happy for you guys to do this.
In terms of, you mentioned there, like booking your own bands and stuff like that, in terms of the music that you book for Body and Soul, and the fact that this was 10 years ago as well, like I feel like the festival industry in general has changed, and it is changing now in terms of like the onus being put on those big headliners. But like, how important was it for you guys to have a really carefully curated gig set up in terms of the music that you were booking? Like, I mean, as in, were you ever kind of drawn to like, Jesus, should we just get the Arctic Monkeys in? Like, it'll bring in the people, like, you know, classic festival band. I mean, I hope you were never drawn to that, but like, did it ever enter your mind?
Well, actually, this year,
just let us know. It's Foo Fighters, isn't it? Suits Body and Soul down to the ground.
I mean, you know, I think the one thing that we can, no matter what way this ever goes, one thing that we can say about ourselves is that we're always terribly honest and very true to what we're doing. I worked in advertising for 15 years or so brand strategy, you know, a bit anal on, and then you bleed that into a music, you know, and a highbrow, a music highbrow. It's kind of like, okay, you know, I felt we had created a very strong music brand within Electric Picnic. People knew our stage as, they don't know anything on it, but they always had a good time. And that was very important, in my opinion, that we keep to that. Budget-wise, we couldn't have gone for Arctic Monkeys. It wouldn't have made sense.
I wish I hadn't have said that. I wish I'd have said
anyone else.
Yeah,
there's merit to them. Because Avril very rightly, you know, this was, I suppose, it was pioneering in that respect. Every piece of the festival is so terribly important. So to put the emphasis just on the stage and the bands, which was historically how things have been done, well then, you know, as I'd hear Avril, you know, like, well, then we'd have to lose this and we'd have to lose this. So it was always very, very careful. You know, we did bust out the paycheck for Nick Cave because I suppose that's the beauty of being an independent festival. We sit down and make those decisions mainly based on heart. But when somebody comes along that it just makes sense, it's Nick Cave. Oh my God, is this ever going to happen again? Let's just do it. Then there's a time to break the rule book. And then there's other times where you stick very clearly to your budget, and you basically cut your cloth to fit. But everything oscillates dependent on, well, actually, for these guys, we need to do this, but how does that look across the rest of the bill and across the site? So it is terribly curated in that way.
Yeah.
I kinda,
It's very considered.
Considered, that's
Everything's
the
very
word. I don't like the
measured.
word curated anymore. It's
Yeah.
overused. But yeah, it is extremely considered.
But I think it's about maintaining integrity as well in terms of like what it is that you're putting on. Because I saw there, like, I think other festivals are starting to really do that a little bit more, but it does seem like you guys were ahead of the curve in that
We've
way.
been doing it for years.
But you've been doing it for years. This is like I saw Primavera coming out with the new normal now. Did you see that in Barcelona this year? And they're just calling it the new normal, and they're kind of doing this anti-indie thing to just say like, we are expanding, we are going to open the realms. Now, obviously, like, there's been different types of music at music festivals for years now. Like we've seen that happening in dribs and drabs, but it feels like people are really kind of opening up to it now, rather than like, and you guys have been doing it for years.
I think there's something about defining your personality within a festival. I mean, we had a vision for what we wanted to create. It wasn't festival by numbers. Have we got the hot tubs? Tick. Have we got the sustainability? Tick. It was like, we wanted our festival to be sustainable. We wanted well-being to be at the core of it. We wanted to give a platform to bands that people may never have heard that we thought were amazing live. We absolutely were committed to offering artists an opportunity to take art out of galleries and bring them into fields. And equally, we wanted our festival to be family friendly, because we were mothers ourselves. So we needed to also create the festival we wanted to go to. And that's very much what's always driven us, is what festival do we want to go to? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that taste like? What does that smell like? What's the experience that you have when you cross the threshold of body and soul? And that for us is what the art form of our festival is. It's about the curation of the whole experience, where we create a container for people and we say, come, we promise you that in this space there's all sorts of beautiful magic for you to explore, but at the end of the day it's down to you what you bring to the party. We create the container, make it what you want to make it, turn it into your home for 3 days and 3 nights. And for us, I guess we're coming from that more kind of, maybe it's more female-led, it's hard to say, but it is coming from that place of wanting people to have an experience where they really can, it's in their cells. And that's what they take away from it.
Trusting the audience. I used to get a little bit, I suppose, maybe in my marketing life, that, you kind of speak to people as if they're stupid, and it's like, no, okay, they may not know 80% of the bill, but they're going to research it. And also we've built up such a trust between us and the people that come down, that they're going, oh, they're, who's GOAT, for God's sake? But they'll have a listen in advance, come down and have an amazing experience. So it is trusting the people out there, that they're going to research, not like everything, but they're certainly going to have an experience and they have the intelligence to taste it.
And like, obviously, I mean, I don't want to say the word veterans, but you've been in the business now for 10 years.
We're veterans.
You're veterans, right? Of music and arts festivals. Across every industry, there's competition. Like, across every industry, I've yet to talk to people who haven't, not necessarily compared, but are aware of the competition. Like, how do you guys, like, what's the community of that like within the music festival industry? I'm interested to know, do you have relationships with other like bookers and with other founding directors of festivals and stuff, and do you chat and do you compare?
I would say that I feel like we kind of live under a rock most of the time. We're not really part of the industry in that way. Body and Soul is very much an expression of something that we want to bring into the Irish landscape, so that we pioneer creatives and artists and people from all walks of life. So in a way, I don't really feel like we're promoters.
Right. Okay.
We're not out there putting on loads of gigs and loads of festivals. We do 3 or 4 shows a year, and that's us having a voice within the landscape. So even though I would know many of the promoters and people that run festivals, we're not really part of that world necessarily. There's a mutual respect there. But we're not sitting down chatting to one another or swapping notes or talking about who's booking which acts, which I think there's scope for that. And it would be great if there was more of that sense of community, where there was where everybody was looking to be of service to the greater whole of what's offered within the country, where we can sit down and look at, well, we're looking at these acts and you're looking at those acts, and instead of us competing against one another.
That's it.
But unfortunately, the industry generates you kind of pitting against one another because of wanting to book certain acts, and there just being a proliferation of events in Ireland right now. So that's probably the downside of it, that there is a more commonality around sitting down and actually looking for there to be space for everybody to survive and everybody to have an equal voice and opportunity within the Irish landscape.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's, I speak to lots of people, just not in Ireland. And I
Right.
don't mean, obviously I speak to lots of people
Of
in Ireland
course,
as well,
yeah.
but within this industry,
Yeah.
we've great connections with France, Belgium, so I'm always chatting with people, and it's wonderful. Here in Ireland, we would speak with a lot of, promoters down the country. Obviously, we know the bookers, but in terms of what we do and how we do it, we have always worked, not blinkered, but if you kind of start looking around too much, then it's,
It gets too much,
I don't know what you, for
Well,
me,
you take
it
your
has
eye off the
always,
ball,
you take
you
your eye
know.
off, well, what am I doing? What
Who
do I
are we?
think?
Yeah.
What's important for us? And
Yeah.
I think one of the best tips I was ever given by a really amazing promoter actually was protect the pearl. Stay focused on what it is that's your offering. Stay focused on what it is that makes you unique and stand out in an otherwise cluttered environment. And so for that reason, we just do our thing, but we, and stay focused on that. But there's an openness at any point in time to collaborate. We love to collaborate. Collaboration is what sets us alight.
Wow, protect the pearl. That's great
Protect the pearl,
advice.
yeah.
I'm like pumped to go back to the office after this. I'm going to go back and get so much work done. So tell us then about this year. So 10 years of joy is what you're kind of talking about, which is a beautiful term as well, by the way. It just sounds brilliant. It kind of fills you with that atmosphere already. The sun is shining. Everybody's excited. It's going to be shining as well on June 21st.
It is,
I can just feel it. Yeah. So what can people expect then who are going to be heading to Body and Soul this year?
Well, from a music perspective, Jenny, we'll pass over to you on that front.
Music-wise, it is very much, it's not going back to our roots per se, but it kind of feels a little bit like we're going back to our roots. And it was just, you know what, let's have a party, along with all the other quiet, beautiful moments where people get to just sit, and watch something very, very pretty. But there is a kind of historical little tilt on it where Kruder and Dorfmeister, and we did a launch recently, and I kind of had to be honest and say, that album for me, they're celebrating 25 years, by the way. That album for me really helped me come out of the club scene in London, which I was very invested in, and kind of, lurch forward into this, alleged adult life I was also trying to lead, being a creative, art director in London. To then Mode Selector. This is their first album in 8 years, although they've toured, they've been around lots, they've gone out as Moderat, they've toured as DJs. This is their first album in 8 years, which is quite phenomenal, actually. And when they first started 20 years ago, they started as a reaction to the political world. They wanted to go underground and go away from it because of the breakdown in their systems. And now, a bit similar to our own age, they're kind of coming back at it. And it is also a political kind of like, hang on a minute, with right-wing activism going on. This is answering that. And then to the newbies, the Blaze.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now, obviously, they're not just, there are more. We have Kate Tempest, somebody we've looked at for years and years. And she is just, you can't put her in one box. She's completely fluid in what she does.
Yeah.
Her message is amazing. To Tulla Kela Band, we have, oh God, who else do we have? I'm gonna have to
We have
Come on, Jenny.
we have.
Oh, this is it. Yeah, I get so invested in it, and then in that moment, I completely forget who I'm
Jenny's
talking about.
checking out that side of it. I think the thing to say around the music side of it is
Princess
that
Nokia.
there's a
You can just jump in with band names.
Yeah, and obviously all our Irish bands, Talos, Soak, these people are just so immense. And to have them back now with albums and having grown up through our stages as well is everything that we always work for. It's so important.
And then, of course, aside from the music element of it, it is very much an arts festival as well. So there will be the onus on sustainability as well as well-being and all those kind of things. I love running around. I go to Body and Soul every year, by the way. Big fan. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. So I'm really excited.
From the sustainability, I suppose that's one of the things that's really important for us to say. The Us and You campsite is the campsite to go to because it's a Leave No Trace campsite, and it's up at 5,500 people now. So we're more than, we're heading into 50% of our audience that are choosing a Leave No Trace campsite, which means you unzip your tent in the morning, you look out onto beautiful grass and really sound people.
Amazing.
But yeah, the art program is phenomenal this year. We've got 100 grand's worth of investment in art that's dotted across the festival site. There's hot tubs, there's massage, there's yoga, there's well-being, there's incredible talks from
Kids area.
there's family area. There's really great talks around sustainability and well-being with people like Ivor Brown, and there's just wonderful people from all walks of life. And what's lovely about the festival, I suppose, is that we are independent. There are no kind of secret owners in the background. It's just us.
Yeah.
So we have the freedom to actually choose whomever we want to come down and have a voice within the festival. And that's probably one of the highlights for me, is that we have that freedom. Our theme this year is ritual.
Amazing.
And that's the ritual of play. It's the ritual of, you know, how you festival together. It's how you shape your day. It's whatever personal mixtape you want to create for yourself that gives you your own unique experience.
Yeah.
And so there's really that sense of just, we're encouraging freedom, and we're encouraging people to actually have a choice for themselves around what makes them feel alive and what makes them feel good. And also there's the final piece, I suppose, is around it being a festival with a purpose. Yeah. We believe that festivals offer a platform for people to actually affect change. Yeah. So on one level, we're creating a damn fine party, and I think the best party in the country, to be honest. But separate to that, there's also a place for us to be able to say, hey, let's tackle youth homelessness. Let's take on mental health. Let's actually, you know, take on certain initiatives and have a voice within, you know, use this opportunity in the festival to galvanize people and to affect change in a positive way. So there's subtle messaging that happens around that, where we kind of are calling them to action, at the same time saying to them, it's your weekend, do what you want. Yeah. You know, be free.
But this
be
is
who
here,
you want to
and
be.
you can go and you can engage if you want to be, because it's a choice. Because like obviously we mentioned off the cuff there that documentary, and I'd say coming up to the summer now, it gets hectic and it gets a little bit frantic and it gets very, very busy for you guys. But at the same time, it must be an incredible thing to work on something that everybody is going to have a good time. Do you know? Like when that must be something you keep in your head if you're ever getting a bit like bogged down by work or something. You are working on something that come June 21st, everyone's going to wake up that morning and go, this is the weekend.
I think
it's pretty impressive.
That for me really happens on site. You know, by April, May, I'm not very good at admin, which, you know, Avril has had to deal with over the years. She can veto that. And when you're ready to pull your Excel files apart and hop your computer off the floor and and you get down to site, and then you kind of, oh my God, there's people coming. Look at the tents. Oh yeah. But also when the bands go on stage, you greet them. You know, it is like welcoming people to your party, and you see all these fabulous Irish people there with their makeup on and their friends, and they're ready to just have this wonderful experience. Is so gorgeous, and it fuels you. I often akin it to having a baby. You know, you forget the pain of labor, and you're ready to you're ready to have another pregnancy. You're ready to go at it again. It is amazing. And also for me, or any of us that work, I mean, we work collectively on the music as well. You know, you're looking at these names on this program, and now it's like
in front of you.
It's like this painting that comes to light.
There's always a moment on Thursday night. Thursday night's my favorite night, because it's the night before we open and everything is in place.
Everything's done.
The lights are pointing the right way. The art is exactly where it needs to be.
Well, it's like Christmas Eve.
You know, it is like Christmas Eve. Everything is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And we always do a lighting test that night and a PA test. And then our main stage, we built it 2 years ago with a beautiful artist called Christy Collard. And it's a ginormous 16 metre by 11 metre wooden stage. It's like a giant cathedral, you know, semi-permanent cathedral. And you just stand there and you look at it and you think, these are all our friends. These are our collaborators. This isn't it's a business. Of course it's a business. It absolutely has to be successful in its endeavors, because it takes a giant budget to pull off such a finely tuned party. But at the same time, when you look around and you see the sea of faces that are there that are part of creating this experience for people to behold, that's where the magic lies for me. That moment just before we open, when we all look at one another and there's a glint in our eye and we know that we've created something that's exceptional. That's a really amazing, and I don't mean exceptional like, wow, we're so incredible, but there's just such attention to detail in every facet of what we do, that there's that moment of just, it's almost like opening up the doors to your own wonderland and saying, you know, welcome, come in.
Wow, I was so pumped to go back and do work, but now I just want to run away to a festival, like straight away. Yeah, exactly. Well, June 21st to June 23rd in Ballinlough Castle, Body and Soul, 10 Years of Joy. I'm so excited to go. I can't wait. Avril and Jenny, thank you so much for coming in. And we'll see you in June.
See you in June.
Okay, so we are back with my guests this week. Keelin Moncrieff and Molly Parsons are here. We were talking a little bit about influencers earlier, and I want to move on to something that you've both spoken about that you seem really passionate about, and that is fashion, and sustainable fashion in particular. But Molly, I want to kind of start with you, because we were part of a panel there a while ago, and I had followed you online. I knew about the podcast, and I suppose I knew that you had style from the pictures that you posted, but I didn't know what kind of style really. And then when you arrived, the outfit that you were wearing to this panel discussion was just incredible. So the whole talk, Keelin, was about the morning after pill and just about kind of sex and safe sex and what happens if something goes wrong and contraception, all this kind of good stuff. And the jacket you'd had it like spray painted, and there was tampons on it, and there was little pills. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was such an amazing expression, I think, and also like it hit the mark in terms of what we were talking about. So that was one of the moments that I was just like, oh, I hate my fucking life. I was literally just like, I'm never going to be as cool as this girl, like, ever. But like, obviously style is really important to you, and when did that kind of start for you? Has it always been something that you've had since you were growing up, like, or has your style evolved over time?
So it's weird because I was my mum's actually a designer.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, I'd always be allowed to dress myself. So I'd like put every pattern together. I used to make my own hat every year for the horse show in the RDS.
Yes,
like,
Molly.
they were made out of like paper and stuff, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't win the best dressed woman.
That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Did you properly like go up in queue? And
yeah, and my mum's actually so nice now that I think about it. She'd like go obviously knowing that I'm not going to win. Like I was like 7. Yeah, and it was like the highlight of my year. And then, and it's weird because it's all intrinsically linked to Instagram. Like I got onto Instagram and I was in second year, and I don't know, like I was like, oh, I need to be hot, like I need to be sexy and appeal to boys, and I need to be the cool
every girl goes through the stage. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So then I just started wearing stuff that just wasn't me because I was like, oh, that'll make me look like I have boobs. Like literally, I don't even have boobs now, so I certainly didn't have them then. And just, you know, like I was just wearing things that just so weren't me up until probably last year. But if I was out with my family, I'd wear something that was like really cool. I was constantly buying off affiliated links.
Okay.
Because I'd see something on someone and think like, oh, loads of boys have liked that. Like everyone thinks she's hot, so I'm gonna wear that. And then
that's a crazy mind frame to have.
yeah,
like,
well, you have to
not
when you
crazy, but
no. Honestly, like
it's good to hear you talk about it because a lot of girls may not admit to feeling those kind of things. But like, so you were heavily influenced.
Oh, like I was the definition of hashtag influenced. Like I really was. But also, when you have any sort of eating problems or weight problems, you're very, very competitive. So you want to be, it sounds horrible, but this is just the reality of it. Like you want to be the hottest person in the room, you want to be the skinniest person in the room. And then as soon as I became comfortable in myself and got better, I just started dressing how I want. And now I feel like it's made me even more unapologetic because I'm never not going to be myself anymore. Yeah. Just like with that dress, like wearing dress like bloody tampons all over it and pills and like shame written across the chest. And I'm just like,
but it was an art piece. So it was
exactly
an expression in a piece as well.
And also like Molly, the kind of the person that you put out there, like you're so happy and approachable and welcoming, like that was one of your words as well. So like when I saw you first, I was like, that's a really cool jacket. I didn't even really notice the bloody tampons because you just looked so happy, do you know what I mean? And then when I looked, I was like, oh, there's a bloody tampon. That's amazing, do you know? But like obviously clothes now is very much like an expression of who you are, and that's kind of what you want to put out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I feel sad, I will, it sounds like really weird, but like I'll put together like such a cool outfit and I'll just like walk around my area. It makes me feel happy to like know I'm expressing myself. If you get me, it's like,
yeah, I get that too. If I walk around my old town where my school is, I'm like, ha, I look so different. I just laugh when I'm walking around. I'm like, oh, it's hilarious.
It's great.
The power of fashion though, isn't it? Like how clothes can make you feel inside, which is, I mean, I think any woman who says that how clothes make them feel doesn't affect them is different, because you can be wearing one outfit one day and you can be wearing the exact same outfit the next day, but like if it feels tighter or if you just don't feel it, like your whole mood can be affected by that, which is a crazy thing. Keelan, what about you? How important is style to you? And when, I suppose the question is like, when did you find your style? What is your style?
So when I was growing up, it's 4 siblings in the house. I was the oldest of 3 girls. So we had a lot of taking in a second-hand clothes, and all my little sisters would take my old clothes, so I was left with nothing. So I had, this is when it really started, the rummaging and just finding stuff. I had to make do with what I had. So I started dressing in my mom's clothes, and she shops a lot in charity shops, loves a good find. And then I realised I actually preferred my dad's clothes. So then I got into like masculine silhouettes. wearing a lot of just like boy clothes and boy shapes. So I was never into like the standard girl dress code really. And when I was put into secondary school, it was like kilt, and that was it. I was felt oppressed. I was like, this is the worst ever.
Yeah.
So then I suppose when I got out of school, I really like amplified that. I was like, I'm going to be myself to the best of my abilities. So I love wearing colour, and I just love wearing loads of like clashing patterns and like whatever I want to. And it's nice when you get feedback as well, because obviously I know you shouldn't be looking at your followers as like with a sense of approval, but it's kind of like they respect me for being different. So it's making me feel better about myself.
Especially in Ireland, because like a lot of the influencers have a certain look, which is like amazing, and that's our personal style. But I think like you and me, like sometimes you are like very different to the other people who are like influencing in Ireland, like your style. So it's nice when people say like, I really appreciate that there's someone like this on my feed. You know what I mean?
It's definitely different. Like, I mean, you know, we talked a little bit about influencers in the first half, and like, I think it's not, like, I don't think it's unfair to say that a lot of their styles are quite similar. That is probably heavily influenced by the brands that they're representing as well, like the certain types of clothes, and this kind of leads us into a little bit more of the sustainable fashion. So like, you said that your mother obviously loves a charity shop and stuff like that. So was that something that was really important to you from a young age, just kind of finding out where the clothes were coming from? Or was it more so just about like, well, this looks different than what all my sisters are wearing, I'm going to go with this today?
I actually wasn't aware of sustainability up until I'd say half a year ago.
Okay.
Because it's not taught anywhere. No one speaks about it because, of course, like, don't talk about it or else we won't make money anymore. That's the big thing. So, but my mom was really like loves being different. Like, she likes being unique, and so I respect that from her as well. She always had real wacky glasses, has like a buzz cut and bleached hair, and she had pink hair for a while as well, so I think that's where I got it. And I was always allowed, like, she always let me express myself, always allowed bleach my hair when I was really young. And I remember getting ridiculed by teachers being like, your hair is going to fall out. And I was like, still have more hair than you though. So I always loved it. So then when I got into sustainability, and I already loved vintage fashion and secondhand clothing, so it was easy for me in that way. But when I looked into sustainability, I found obviously a lot of girls don't want to buy secondhand. It's just not the style they're into. And I think that I give information every day on where you can get clothes that are sustainable and it's not secondhand. Like, brands are they're listening to what we're saying.
Yeah.
So like H&M even brought out a conscious range.
Yeah.
Because I think there is a little bit of confusion in that, because like obviously there's, you know, a huge amount of like vintage stores around the country, and that's definitely something that's like up and coming, but then the word sustainable is now kind of really developing, and I see a lot of young girls who are getting into it, and there's some really amazing things that they're running now around Dublin. I'm not entirely sure about the rest of the country. I'm sure they are as well, but like they'll just go on kind of sustainable, I suppose, like bar crawls for clothes basically, which is great as well. But like, what's the difference in terms of like sustainability? This is actually about the ecological impact of the materials that are used in the clothes, right? So that's the difference, isn't it, between that and like just going to a secondhand store? Okay, yeah.
Ecological impact and ethical impact as well.
Yeah.
So the people making the clothes and where the clothes are coming from in that aspect, would you say? Yeah.
And what was it that kind of, 6 months ago you said that you kind of got into it more. What was it? Did you watch a documentary or?
Well, around 2 years ago I watched The True Cost on Netflix, and that's more ethical.
Yeah.
And it's not really going into the carbon footprint or anything.
Yeah, the actual waste.
And
stuff
I was
like that.
I was already vegan, so I knew that I was reducing my carbon footprint by eating a vegan diet.
Yeah.
And then I think I watched a YouTube video or something, and then I realised that clothing actually has an ecological impact on the world. So that's when I made a huge change, because like veganism is not something you do part-time. It's all the time. And I know that since sustainability is a trend now, people are saying, well, if you do it, you know, in moderation, but you're not going to say promote veganism and then sell a steak on your Instagram. It's not something you're going to do. So if you need to go sustainable, you have to do it fully and hands-on, especially because I have an influence. I want to do it hands-on and say, like, give people the resources and teach them about it.
And actually give them information as well.
Yeah, and you can still keep your style.
Yeah.
And shop sustainably.
So what exactly did you do then? Did you like do a proper cull on all of your clothes to kind of like get them out and make sure that everything was sustainable? No. But that actually sounds counterintuitive. So I just bought a whole new wardrobe.
I think that's what people think though. Like I saw someone the other day say, and no one's talking about like sustainable like keeping of clothes, and that's probably true. Like But I just kind of presumed that people knew, like, don't throw your clothes out. What you love, take care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the clothes that we buy from fast fashion brands, they are really bad quality because they're not made properly, because the fact is there's kids making your clothes.
Yeah.
So you learn to mend, learn to sew. Washing polyester is actually letting out microplastics into the water system as well. So wash your clothes less. I know it sounds
And you can get guppy bags as well, so that, have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
So it doesn't leach into the water. So
Yeah.
they're like little bags. Like, obviously this, like, if you're a student, like, but like, say if your mum at home is interested in doing this, there's these things, I think they're called guppy bags, and they stop the polyester from releasing, or they like keep it in this bag, the microplastics, and then you can dispose of it properly.
But then a lot as well with influencers, they have a new outfit every day. You'd never be seen photographed in the same piece of clothing twice.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do on my Instagram, and this was actually really hard for me, is to wear the same outfit twice in 1 week.
Yeah.
And just change. Like, I've worn these jeans now like three times this week, and that would be something I never would have done 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be seen, because obviously my outfits would be memorable, and I was obsessed that people would be like looking at me and saying, "Oh my God, she's wearing the same thing twice." So embarrassing.
But it's so weird that
I
people
know.
say that, isn't
I
it?
know.
Because, like, I know, isn't it your one, what's her name, married to the Prince of England?
Meghan Markle.
Other one.
Kate Middleton.
Yes. Kate Middleton, like, wears a dress and then wears the same dress, like, 4 years later, and everybody goes fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh my God, she wore the same thing.
It's so
Isn't
bizarre.
she fantastic? Like, look at her, recycle queen of the world. I'm like, I'm sorry, it's just like... Literally 4 years later, and I just imagine her, like, I always, whenever I see a piece like that, I'm just like, imagine her walking through her closet and going, well, it's been 4 years. I doubt that they'll notice, and everybody does. I think that there are some people whose job is solely just to follow when Kate Middleton wears something twice, but it all becomes this whole thing of like, why can't we wear? I'm completely guilty of it. Like, on my grid with all my thousands of followers, like, I swear to God, I would think about the fact that, like, if I wear something twice, what will they think? Like, people will say that, and it's not just with clothes. That's actually with, like, landscape shots and, like, random things. I'm just like, well, you want your grid to be, like, aesthetically pleasing, but that's bullshit. Like, why are we washing our clothes? And to be honest with you, I'm not washing my clothes that much. I'm just not wearing them that often, do you know? Or I'm, like, trying to give it a week and give it another week, just so that people don't talk about me as the girl who wears the same clothes all the time. But, like, that's the mindset that probably is something people can do straight away to change it, you know? How did sustainability become important to you, Molly?
I'd say, so I was always very aware of it. My granny and my mum, like, always shopped. My mum actually was an NCAD head, and she, like, always went to shop in charity shops, and she actually, like, she would be probably more knowledgeable on it than I am. So she actually used to give out to me, but I was like a teenager, like whatever, mom. And then yeah, like, I'm also vegan, but I don't know, I just also, like, couldn't deny it to myself anymore. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna have, not that I hadn't even bought anything in ages, because I was trying to do this thing where for like 2 months I didn't buy anything and see how it, like, affected my mind. And I noticed that I was, like, getting so desperate, like, getting, like, so panicked and anxious when I saw something that I liked on, whether it be Instagram or on, like, a brand. I was about to name a brand. I was like, probably shouldn't do that.
It's okay.
And then and then I was just like, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't preach you know, like, mental health and all this when I know my clothes are being made by people in horrific conditions who are probably really, really struggling. And so I just was like, okay, let's just try it out. And I have found that I've developed my personal style much more than when I was shopping, like, binge shopping. Getting things that I didn't even want. Now I have to look for things. Like, for instance, I really wanted, like, I love these floaty skirts. I found this in the Irish Cancer Society shop in Dunleary. And I had to look for one of these for ages, like, constantly. It was only like €3. But you know what I mean? Like, you're going out and you're finding things that you really, really love. If this tore, I would fix it. Whereas, like, in the past, I would have just thrown it out and gotten something else. So I just think that, like, it's been an organic, like, interest in me. Like, I've heard about it since I was young, but it wasn't as, like, instant as Keelin's. But now it's something that it's so important to me.
I think, you know, the reason why I think some people might be confused by the whole sustainable fashion, well, first off, like, you know, it is popular now. It's definitely a trend. And I think that that's a good thing because it's an important thing. But at the same time, you know, is it fair that maybe young people are thinking about the bigger picture and they're thinking about the fact that, like, the same thing when we talk about climate change, sometimes people aren't arsed because it's not going to affect them in their lifestyle, you know? Like, I was reading up on this and I was looking at some of the stats, and there's crazy amounts of waste that comes from garments, like literally, like the clothes that we have, like jeans, something mental, like
It's a ton a minute.
yeah, like it's ridiculous. I saw this one stat of like there's 40,000 square kilometers, like, which is bigger than Switzerland, just filled with jeans in landfills around
And
the
Haiti
world.
is just all garments. It's all materials and textiles.
I mean, so is it about raising awareness? Is it about like telling them what they can do on a smaller scale, but also like letting them know that this probably is going to affect us in our life. Like it is actually really damaging the earth, like, and I don't think that's a dramatic thing to say.
No,
is
it's
it?
not at all. It's like actually really apocalyptic. Like it's
No,
really
and especially
scary.
Ireland, the little island, we will be underwater.
Yeah.
Like, we are going to be affected. We're an island.
Yeah.
We are going to be underwater.
Absolutely. So, Keelan, just like kind of to wrap it up, I suppose, and again, like I know that you're talking to your followers about it and stuff, and you talk about your fashion a lot as well. What are the real things that people can do, like tomorrow, for example, if they watch this and they think, you know what, I need to be more conscious about what I'm wearing, I need to be more conscious about what I'm buying. Don't do what I said. Don't throw all your clothes away. Christ's sake, there's landfills. But like, what is it that they can do that maybe might be like dipping their toe into learning about sustainability?
So I wouldn't say, the more extreme would be stop shopping.
Yeah.
But I'd say just shop different.
Right.
Think about before you buy something. It's conscious consumerism. So just think I sleep before I buy something now, but from working in retail, you know, everything's so instant. I'd just be like on my lunch break buying a few tops. So just think about something.
So you sleep on it?
Yeah, I always sleep before I buy something.
Oh, wow.
Always.
It's
It's like
like
taking a nap.
Yeah, I'm just
in
like,
the middle of town.
one sec. No,
like
but
how-
I work in a vintage shop now, so I'm just like, give me all the clothes. Because
Yeah.
you need to feel that, because it's an addiction.
Oh yeah, it makes you feel something. It's like how they always say that you shouldn't shop for food when you're hungry.
Yeah, because like endorphins are released when you shop. So I'm not going to deny. Obviously, I love shopping, but if I'm shopping differently, I'm not feeling that guilt then when I'm shopping as well, because shopping in vintage and charity shops is fun for me, and but I also get to express myself and get different pieces and be different to everyone else. So
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Shop different. So don't like stop shopping, but shop different. And also, I was online and I found the Fashion Transparency Index, which came about like a few years after that awful thing that happened in Bangladesh in 2013. So that basically has a list of brands, and we're not going to name them, but they've rated them. So there's a low rating, there's low middle, there's high middle, and then there's top rating. So that's like, well, what I think is a great thing is like H&M is right there at the top. Like they're doing incredible things when it comes to it. So
because the true cost brought to light what they were doing. So
Exactly.
if we do bring it to light, changes will happen.
yeah, and so like that's not, if people are thinking, oh well, Jesus, this is one of those things and it's going to be so expensive to be sustainable. Like
No,
it's
that's an
It's-
argument that a lot of people
It's
use.
a weird misconception.
No, it's like a lot of people shop in charity shops to get their clothes for cheaper.
Yeah.
Like it's really, really cheap to shop in
And
charity
it's
shops.
donating to charities as well.
Yeah.
So you're literally helping it as a whole way better.
So shopping different is something that people can do. Molly, what would be like a piece of advice that you would give?
I think Keelan's was really, really good. Like, think about things before you buy. But I would also say if you do continue to shop in fast fashion retailers, try it on, think about it. It's going to be available tomorrow. That's like one of the benefits of
Yeah.
fast fashion. And if you really, really want it, and it's shop different, but if you're going to do sustainability gradually, like you have to think about what you're buying. Don't just buy something because it's €7 and you might wear it tomorrow night and then you'll never wear it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's very, very wasteful, and it's also damaging to your mental health.
Yeah.
And harming people who in the making of your clothes.
Yeah.
And I know from going veganism, obviously you're more empathetic to animals, but what about people that are actually suffering
humans.
from a garment because you got it for €2 and you're chuffed about it, when people are actually being hurt from the making of
Absolutely.
it?
Yeah, I think it would benefit everybody if they kind of, you know, went and looked at the things that you guys have done online when you're talking about it, you've got some great like wardrobe reviews, I suppose, where you kind of bring people in. Well, I saw the coat one anyway, and then halfway through you were like, look, I'm gonna have to break this up because there's just too many coats.
I was going to do my whole wardrobe, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I have so much stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really important to just kind of learn about what we're doing and don't fall into that whole like hashtag something brand name hun. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can think about it and be like a little bit more.
Hashtag sustainable queen.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is
Hashtag.
the hashtag.
That we're making it. Oh my God, it started now. Trend #1 in Ireland.
I can hear it.
I'll text my dad.
Hashtag sustainable queen. Well, I think I found the name of this episode. Thank you so much. But guys, before I wrap up, before I let you go, what's coming up next for you guys? So Molly, obviously Molly's Minutes is going from strength to strength. Also go and it's on YouTube as well as all the kind of podcasts.
Yeah, it's on
apps,
Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah.
everything like that. And Keelin is your guest this week as well.
Yes.
So go and check it out.
Next week, it's probably going to be out. I don't know when you air these, but it's probably going to be out when you air this. I have sexshopper.ie.
Oh, nice.
so
She's
excited.
been on this show before.
Yeah,
She's incredible.
Shauna Scott is
Shauna, yeah.
incredible, and we just talk everything sex, and I actually think it's like the most beneficial podcast I've ever done. Sorry, Keelan, but like I honestly do.
No, I need to learn. Teach me the ways. I don't know how to sex.
I love Shauna. She's so open and she's so honest and she
Yeah.
really just like, I love her story as well. I love her story, the way how like when she came to Ireland, she was just like, hang on, what's happening? Why aren't women talking about sex?
Crazy.
Like, why are the sex
Our
shops like
generation-
dungeons?
yeah.
Yeah.
Dungeons.
Dungeons.
Yeah, my
Now-
sister was watching a friend film last night and she was like, they're so open about sex. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is what it's supposed
Our
to be like.
generation is worse, I think. I actually do think that. But
Yeah.
anyway.
But yeah, so let's not step on that one. Find out everything on Sex Shopper. And then yeah, so you're just going to continue to do this?
Yeah, continue to do this. I am planning an event with Tara Stewart, the DJ as well.
She's been on the show as well.
Yeah, so
a small country.
that is coming up soon, and hopefully we can release those details. But yeah, just doing my podcast and seeing what happens.
Amazing. Well, I love it. And congratulations on the
Thank you.
podcast. It's absolutely awesome. Keelan, what about you?
So I have a video coming out on Monday about how I want to see changes in the second level education system. So I can't even speak. And so I'm actually looking into changing the education system. I think I could do it.
Do it.
I'm going to do it.
Absolutely.
So-
And it is, like, when you say changing the education system, it's about career paths more
Yeah.
so than anything, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's about kind of giving people more information when they're in secondary school and then moving on. Because, like, the panel discussion we did before was about sex education, but it's not necessarily about that. It's actually about kind of building for your future that you want to tackle. Is that it?
No, sorry, what do you mean?
Like, as in, is it about, like, what you can do after school? Is that kind of what you want to get, like,
It's
the
teaching
information?
people more about life and to be more understanding and tolerant of other types of people.
Okay.
Because I never had a class on LGBTQ plus communities.
Right.
So something like that's implemented into
Or
schools.
sex ed.
And
for-
sex ed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, as well.
Sex
For-
ed is heteronormative.
Yeah.
And it doesn't focus in any way, aside from that, even though it's heteronormative, on female pleasure. Even that's another thing.
Yeah.
We're actually doing a pleasure month on Her.ie soon where we're talking about
Invite us, like.
we're talking about everything to do with pleasure and the female orgasm being like a big aspect of it. Well, that's incredible. I can't wait to see what you do with all of that.
Yeah, so you'll be seeing a few strikes from me with the pickets. It'll be so good. Oh my God, the outfits at that will be so good.
amazing. Well, listen, Keelin Moncrieff and Molly Parsons, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
We're going to have to wrap up. I've just run out of time. So also Avril and Jenny of Body&Soul, thank you so much for coming in as well. Don't forget to rate and review and subscribe and all that on all of the podcast apps. I'm Niamh Maher and we will chat to you next week.